Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, the Israeli Defense Forces launched a wide-scale military exercise titled Lethal Arrow, which simulates scenarios on various fronts, yet focuses primarily on Israel's northern front. Israel and the Republic of Sudan have officially decided to normalize bilateral relations as part of the US-brokered Regional Peace Initiative, a third such announcement in less than 6 weeks. The United Nations acting envoy to Libya, Stephanie Williams, announces that the warring parties in the war-torn country have signed a permanent cessation of hostilities agreement. The Israeli Defense Forces launched a wide-scale military exercise titled Lethal Arrow, which simulates scenarios on various fronts, yet focuses primarily on the northern front. According to the IDF spokesperson's unit, the aim of the exercise is to improve the IDF's offensive capabilities at all the echelons while implementing the victory concept and generating new procedures between key headquarters. The IDF further emphasized that the exercise was pre-planned as part of its 2020 training schedule and is expected to end on Thursday afternoon. Meanwhile, speaking to the IDF Paratroopers Brigade, IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Aviv Kochavi warned the troops not to be complacent because of an errant perception derived from the presiding relative quiet. General Kochavi insisted that the military should not expect war to break out in a later date, but rather expect the enemy to strike when Israel least expects it.
התחושה הזאת של אין מבצעים היא טעות גדולה מאוד. איזה מבצע היה בין 1956 ל-1967? 11 שנה בלי מלחמה. ואז זה הגיע. אבל אני אגיד לכם מה האשליה הכי גדולה. האשליה הכי גדולה שזה יקרה בעוד הרבה זמן. אתם תתכוננו שזה יקרה מחר. אני רק אומר לכם, זה כמעט תמיד פורץ בהפתעה.
And while Israel prepares for a future war, it does not hold back from seizing the present opportunities for peace. As TV7 reported on the 22nd of October, Israel and the Republic of Sudan have officially decided to normalize bilateral relations as part of the US-brokered Regional Peace Initiative. US President Donald Trump made the announcement from the White House on Friday night after speaking via telephone with the leaders of Jerusalem and Khartoum.
The State of Israel and the Republic of Sudan have agreed to make peace. This is for many, many years they've been at odds, to put it nicely, and to normalize their relations. This will be the third country where we're doing this, and we have many, many more coming. They're coming at us hot and heavy.
When asked which countries are expected to join the circle of peace with the Jewish state, President Trump noted that another 5 nations are expected to enlist, including the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, we have at least 5 that want to come in, and we'll have many more than that very soon.
And when you say want to come in, you mean?
Want to come into the deal. In other words, yeah, part of the peace deal. We will have them, along with some other countries that you will be hearing about coming, probably simultaneously. And then ultimately we're going to have a big reunion at the end where everybody's here and everybody's going to be signed. And we expect that Saudi Arabia will be one of those countries.
Asked whether the growing number of normalization accords between Israel and the Arab world aim at forming a regional alliance to confront the Ayatollah regime in Tehran, President Trump voiced hope that Iran would ultimately alter its policy by seeking to join the circle of peace rather than develop nuclear weapons. Turning to Jerusalem, where the Israeli cabinet approved last week's parliament vote ratifying the Abraham Peace Accord with the United Arab Emirates, and separately approved transferring a bill to vote into law Israel's peace agreement with the Kingdom of Bahrain. Speaking at his weekly cabinet meeting in Jerusalem, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also voiced his pleasure at the latest peace deal, which is set to be signed with the Republic of Sudan.
אני מביא היום לאישור הממשלה, את הסכם השלום ההיסטורי עם איחוד האמירויות, לאחר שזה אושר בכנסת. הממשלה גם תאשר את העברה לכנסת של הסכם כינון היחסים עם בחריין. כפי שידוע לכם, גם הכרזנו בסוף השבוע על הסכם נורמליזציה נוסף, הפעם עם סודן, שהייתה מדינת אויב, עד לפני שנים אחדות גם מדינה ששיתפה פעולה עם איראן בהברחת אמל"ח, אמצעי לחימה מסוכנים מאוד, לחמאס לשימוש נגד ישראל.
It is important to explain that instability in Sudan had been exploited by the Islamic Republic of Iran for many years, used primarily as a staging ground for smuggling weapons from its territory via neighboring Egypt to Islamist organizations in the Gaza Strip. Consequently, Sudan was subject to an undisclosed number of alleged Israeli strikes, including targeted bombardments, which were reported by TV7 on the 23rd of October 2012, among other aerial strikes against terror installations, which were attributed to Israel. Therefore, the normalization accord between Jerusalem and Khartoum is viewed as a significant setback for Tehran and its regional allies, including the Islamist Hamas organization.
هذا الإعلان يضر بشعبنا وقضيته العادلة ويشجع الاحتلال على ارتكاب مزيد من الجرائم والإنكار لحقوقنا الثابتة، بل يضر أيضا بالمصالح الوطنية للسودان الشقيق ولمنظومة المصالح العربية في كل المنطقة. هذا الإعلان يخدم المشروع الصهيوني وسياسته التوسعية في المنطقة، وبالتأكيد لا يخدم إلا ترامب في دعايته الانتخابية ونتنياهو في صراعه الداخلي المحتدم.
It is important to know that despite the welcomed announcement by Washington, Khartoum, and Jerusalem, Sudanese Foreign Minister Omar Jamal al-Din noted that while the country's high military council and civil leadership agreed to normalize relations with Israel, there is currently no parliament in Khartoum, which is crucial to ratify an agreement into law, a necessary step for a peace treaty to be officially adopted.
ما تم هو اتفاق على التطبيع، ولأن التطبيع عمل آخر بين المؤسسات الدول، وهو عمل طويل وليس حدثا في حد ذاته، إنما هو عملية مستمرة. فلذلك نقول أن هذا هو اتفاق على التطبيع جرى بين السودان وإسرائيل، وننتظر أن تكتمل مؤسسات السودان الديمقراطية ومن ضمنها المجلس التشريعي حتى يقرر المصادقة على هذا الاتفاق حتى يصير تطبيعا. فإذا ما تم ذلك بإذن الله سنكون قد دخلنا في خطوات التطبيع.
While Sudan faces some domestic pressure by pro-Iranian figures to reject normalization with Israel, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates, among others, are evidently pressuring the leading political figures in Khartoum to assure the deal's parliamentary adoption. Turning to the Swiss city of Geneva, where the United Nations acting envoy for Libya, Stephanie Williams, announced that the warring parties in the war-torn country have signed a permanent cessation of hostilities agreement.
Today is a good day for the Libyan people. At 11:15 a.m. this morning, here in the UN headquarters in Geneva, the two Libyan delegations to the 5+5 Joint Military Commission talks signed a complete, countrywide, and permanent ceasefire agreement with immediate effect. The agreement was facilitated by the United Nations, and we signed it as witnesses.
Williams went on to reiterate her call on foreign powers to cease their smuggling of arms into Libya, and in accordance with the agreement, realize the departure of all mercenaries from Libyan soil.
The parties agreed that all military units and armed groups on the front lines shall return to their camps. This shall be accompanied by the departure of all mercenaries and foreign fighters from all Libyan territories, land, air, and sea, within a maximum period of 3 months from today.
It is interesting to mention that the ceasefire agreement may challenge a maritime deal between the Tripoli-based Government of National Accord and Ankara. Therefore, a reaction by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was made shortly after the UN-brokered agreement was announced.
Tabii bugünkü yapılan bu ateşkes anlaşması aslında en üst düzeyde yapılmış bir ateşkes değil. Daha alt düzeyde. Bunun kalıcılığı ne kadar olur bunu zaman gösterecek. Aynı şekilde tabii 3 ay içerisinde Wagner gibi paralı askerlerin oradan çekilmesi nedenli doğrudur, sağlıklıdır. Onu da bilemiyoruz.
Furthermore, as part of TV7 Israel's prayer initiative, I would like to encourage you today to join myself and the team here in Jerusalem to lift up France in prayer for its salvation and peace, in addition to our ongoing prayers for the peace of Jerusalem, the salvation of Israel, and for all those who are impacted by the corona contagion and its numerous ramifications worldwide. Separately, I would like to thank once again all of you who partner with TV7 Israel, both by means of prayer and finance. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you a Shavuot Tov u'Mevorach, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.